Derek, the American Youth Revolution has finally taken over Major League Soccer. In 2026, there are so many young players that are getting minutes in Major League Soccer, which we're going to talk about this, but you would think maybe would be the opposite, because normally when the league improves with foreign international players, that means that Americans have less time to play. That's been an issue that a lot of people have worried about or complained about. But I think that's actually the opposite this year. There's been several teams that have had several youth prospects play significant minutes in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, it's very specific about what teams are doing that, obviously. And
hey, real quick, make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. The 2026 MLS season part 2 has officially started. We got the transfer window. We got the MLS Cup playoffs at the end of the year, and everything in between you guys are not going to want to miss. So please make sure you guys are subscribed and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Yeah,
there are many who aren't. So to have this kind of revolution, or this sort of evolution, if you will, with a handful of teams really committed to that is a cool thing to see. And they're not going to commit to it unless they think they could still win and do that at the same time. I don't think there's really a whole lot of outside pressure outside of you, me, and a couple other people who are like, play the kids, right? So they must think this is worth it. And so now we're seeing players coming out of the woodwork. We have not seen this ever in MLS, ever. I've been tracking this kind of stuff for 15 years. This is new. This is new.
Yes, and another thing too, I want to lay the groundwork for this too, or my thoughts on it. I am against playing the kids if they're not worthy of being played. I think everything has to be earned. You don't just play someone for the sake. You don't Tim Howard it where you just play Cavan Sullivan every single USMNT game until 2030. Like I don't believe in that unless he's earned it, right?
Right.
So I think that the fact these guys seem to have earned it. Well, I mean, they have because they're playing really well, but they've earned it, worked hard. It's made them better to have to play at a certain level to do it. And you know what else is beautiful too, which I'm sure we'll get into later? A lot of USMNT content creators who not necessarily care too much for MLS outside of like the national team players, right? I see more interest now from everyone in MLS because of all the young players who are playing in MLS that have a bright future with the USMNT.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a trend. And so it's maybe it wasn't that there were all these snobs. Maybe they were just waiting for, this evolution to happen to go, okay, all right. So maybe some MLS academies are developing some good players. And the fact is that that's just true. They are. Now, they're not like a 100% success rate. They're all going to play for the U.S. men's national team or anything like that in the future. That we got to still see who takes that next step and who doesn't. But it's promising for sure. It is. So, yeah. I mean, we're having, if you want to get more gentle with it, if you go U23s, which frankly, I think if you're tracking young players, you have to do, because we got a bunch of young center backs who are 21, 20. And if you're only doing teenagers, you're missing them. And, center backs don't really develop until later. So if we got all these young center backs, you got to count them in it too. And then you got goalkeepers that are 22, 20. That's a young goalkeeper. So you got to put those numbers in it too. So that's why I track the U23s and below and not just teenagers. I think you got to be fair about that.
No, I don't disagree. So I want to talk about the first guy. This is the man of the hour. This is the person that has been very polarizing since he signed with Manchester City at 14 years old and was deemed the wonder kid of U.S. soccer and that he was going to be better than any player we've ever produced, which how many times we've heard that before, right? Let's talk about Cavan Sullivan. Yeah. Too many times, right? But I have to be fair, and I'll say this. Prior to recently, I had always been underwhelmed by Cavan Sullivan. Yep. I had never saw anything that made me think that guy could be something really special. It was more like I hear about it behind closed doors in practice or, MLS Next Pro, but I never see it against the men, right? Which is where you're going to have to be good if you want to be considered that level.
Right.
And man, after that World Cup break, which you say he looks like he's grown, which I think he has, he's gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
He might be the best USMNT prospect we've seen the last month.
Well, he's
arguably.
one of them. He's one of them. Certainly, you could put Mehmeti up there too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some other guys that have been really impressive. Yeah, and some people are going to say, "Oh, Derek, shut up about how small he was." Well, that's how small he was. And no, you don't have to be gigantic, obviously, or even large to be a good soccer player. So that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is, putting on a few inches and continuing to build the body and muscle mass, that's just going to help him. He'll get stronger, faster. And so there's a big difference between 15-year-old Cavan Sullivan and the Cavan Sullivan we've seen since the World Cup. That's just a larger mammal, and that does help. And I think we were talking about his listing of his height has changed in the last couple months. Like he's gained like 2 or 3 inches or whatever it was. And you can tell just watching the game, he's a larger mammal, which is going to help him, frankly, going forward. He's sort of come out of his, not a shell. He wasn't in a shell. He just wasn't a difference maker on that team up until after the World Cup. We've seen him take a lot of chances, and some of them don't come off, but a lot of them have. And so he's looking really impressive right now. I'm not saying he's, God's gift yet, but he's a lot more impressive now, and I am a lot more impressed by him now than I was prior to the World Cup. That's for sure.
He's got 6 goal contributions in his last 4 games as a 16-year-old, which is beautiful, right? And I think a lot of people would probably say at this point in time, he's the Union's best player. At 16 years old, that's pretty. Now, you could maybe argue, there's another guy that's ascending too. We'll talk about later on the team. But Cavan Sullivan, regardless if you think he is the best or second best, he is a very integral piece to this team at this moment, and a reason why they are starting to get to ascend. And I think that a 16-year-old like this in the league is a good sign of where, like we talk about the youth talent and the development is going. And next year at 17, where we expect him to keep getting better, especially the more he plays, I'm thinking it's very possible he could maybe be a top 10 player in the league next year.
I mean, anything is certainly possible. He doesn't seem to be a one-trick pony, meaning, he'll only go one way or the other. And that becomes, you start to figure that out after a while. We've had players like that before who we thought, oh, this is going to be a really great player. And then it took them years to develop, or several years to figure out, I got to use my other foot. I mean, Cade Cowell has certainly figured that out now, right? He's a guy that used to just go one direction. And then everybody figured it out. And they're like, well, this is easy to stop. Just make him go outside and use his weaker foot. He hated that. So Cavan seems to be a little more unpredictable, which is good. I think there's parts of his game that are still going to get better. I hope they do. Shooting outside the box, shooting with power outside the box. I hope these are things that get better. I'd like to see more of that. But top 10 player, that's, it's possible, I suppose, but it'll be still a lot of growing there. And he might certainly be the top player on his team and thus compete for that sort of moniker at the top of the league. But I guess we'll wait and see on that. What I will say is it's possible.
The only reason I say that is because since the World Cup break has ended, I would say he's arguably top 15, top 20 since the break has ended. That time, after the World Cup. So if he keeps getting better, why can't he be top 10 next year? If he plays even better than he's playing right now, which is a very good level, it's just going to be something interesting to follow. And you hope that he doesn't stagnate and he does continue to get better. And I think he will the more he plays.
I think you got to keep in context that, Messi plays in this league and DePaul plays in this league, and you can start adding up some of the best players in this league, and you're like, okay, well, he's still got a ways to go to surpass some of those guys. But, if he continues, if he can stay consistent, which is a challenge for any young player, especially of his age, consistency it's a battle. It's a constant battle. How consistent can I be? How many bad nights am I going to have? Right? Because that game against Austin, he scored, right? But that was not his best game, I don't think. So there are going to be nights where he's less effective, but less effective until he scores. No, I'll take that every night, right? So if he can have bad nights where he's contributing, or nights where he's a bit off, but he's still contributing, then we're seeing something. We're seeing him build consistency, because that's what the great players do. They have an off night, yet they still contribute, find a way to contribute. So, consistency will be his nemesis. We'll see how that works.
So the next player we're going to talk about, you mentioned him a minute ago, is Adri Mehmeti, right? A lot of people think he's the best young prospect, also fighting Sullivan for the best young prospect in Major League Soccer. He's 17 years old.
It's crazy.
He is a pillar for the New York Red Bulls. He's arguably their best player, least most impactful. I know Julian Hall has, 13 goals this year, but I think I don't know if that would be happening without Mehmeti in the midfield. So I'll say this too. Me and Adam talked about this the other night. We think that Mehmeti could end up being the best midfielder that we've ever produced. He has that type of potential.
I mean, he's only 17 and he's super competent already. Like super solid, super competent, super confident. He's a little skinny guy. He'll fill out. Trust me. And not that people are pushing him over or anything, but just saying he's only going to get physically stronger. There's massive potential there. There's such a high IQ there already, of like, where am I supposed to be when the ball's there? What lanes do I fill? Where do I go to receive a pass? All that seems so natural to him. He does it without thinking. And that's a massive positive. So it's promising, and I think the sooner he pulls a Gozo and tests himself in a bigger market with better players, probably the better.
Yeah, so we talked the other night, and I think what is he? He's like Albanian as well, so he could go ahead and get the work visa and be able to make the move to Europe. Yes. Now he doesn't have to work till he's 18 years old,
right? So
I do think there's a good chance maybe he does move this winter. I don't think the Red Bulls are going to sell him this window, but they possibly could in January. Where would you like to see him? Where would you like to see him go? Like, would you want to see him in the Bundesliga? Is that like a league you think he's already ready? He's good enough to play in already?
I think, if he stays in the Red Bull system, he could do a year with Salzburg and play Champions League and etc. I mean, Salzburg usually finishes in the Champions League positions, not last year, but typically. And so he could end up playing some Champions League ball and just sort of ease into it, and then kind of make his way to Leipzig. So I think that would be a good move, as long as that's the player they're looking for. Otherwise, move on. If you're the Red Bull parent company, you're got to be looking at this guy and saying, well, we're not just going to let him go. Like, this looks like it could be, generational talent. You'd think they'd be sniffing up that tree already, and the rumors are they are, but we'll see how that works out. But they don't immediately have to throw him into like a Leipzig, who are pretty traditionally been one of the top teams in Germany lately, where he'll have to struggle to find a spot to play, or maybe not. I don't know. It all depends on how committed the Red Bull system is to him. And they've got to be pretty impressed with what they're seeing.
Couldn't that make him better, though? Because Tyler Adams, I think he's a way better prospect than Tyler Adams. And I love Tyler Adams, but he's way more talented than he was, especially at 17 years old. And Tyler Adams was able to make the move from the Red Bulls to Leipzig. He never had to go on loan to Salzburg, as far as I remember. He was, I think it maybe started off as a reserve and was able to fight his way into the first team. I mean, do you think that Mehmeti has the talent to do that? I mean, I know that like you said, they're normally a top 4 team in the Bundesliga now, more recent years. But I think Mehmeti's good enough to where he could work his way into a significant role for this team eventually.
Again, it really depends what Leipzig is looking for. I don't think they typically just look for wrecking balls, which is what Adams is. He's a destroyer.
Yeah.
Mehmeti is much more technically gifted with his feet. Got great vision. I think that's more typically the kind of player the Bundesliga looks for, which is why Adams was not like a penned-in starter every day for Leipzig while he was there. Their system didn't really require a destroyer. And so I think he fits in better than Adams does. And I think people are comparing Mehmeti to Adams, and I don't think that's quite fair. I think they're different players. I think Mehmeti brings things that Adams just simply does not have. But Adams, of course, still has something that Mehmeti doesn't have, which is an innate, destroyer attitude. He'll maybe get there, but I don't think he needs to be a destroyer. And most teams aren't looking for pure destroyers. They want their deep lying midfielders to not only be able to be competent defenders and good defenders, but also to be great passers. So I think that that gives him a little bit of a bonus over Adams going forward.
So let's talk about this next guy who's really blossomed since he came back on loan from Denmark, which is Neil Pierre. You were talking about center backs ascending. Normally it takes maybe a little bit longer to develop.
Yeah.
This guy's 18 years old. He's 6'7", and he has 3 goals in 15 games. And these are not fluky goals either. This isn't just the guy that's tallest that's able to win the header. Like, he's able to make movements in the box and bend his body and do all kinds of different things that normally taller men struggle to do athletically to score these goals. Oh, and by the way, he looks pretty damn good at defending, and he's been passing out of the back pretty solid too. I just watched him play against Inter Miami with Pete the other day, and he had this one great one-on-one defending against Messi in transition. It was perfect and took the ball away from him. I think this guy's got maybe the highest ceiling of any center back we have.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't grow anymore. And has to grow into his continued growth. Hope it just stops right here, because anymore could be an issue. But right now, he's handling all that size. Really, he uses his length on defense spectacularly well, like with, again, high IQ. He's not slow for a mammal of that size. He's quite.
Hey, everyone, quick word from our sponsor, FanDuel. If you're into soccer like I am, you already know how exciting La Liga, the Premier League, and MLS matches can get. With FanDuel, you can make it even more fun by placing bets on your favorite teams and matches across all 3 leagues. Whether it's a Premier League showdown, a La Liga thriller, or an MLS game with your local club, FanDuel makes it easy and exciting to bet on what you watch. Just remember, you have to be 21 years or older to play. Please bet responsibly and only if you're of legal age and in a state where it's allowed. Download the FanDuel app or head over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and get in on the action. Thanks for supporting the channel through FanDuel.
He's not quick, but, he covers a lot of space in a short amount of time with those legs. So, there's a lot of promise here. And, I have expected him to screw up more than he has, being so young as a center back. I thought, he's going to have some bad games, and I'm sure he will, but there have been a lot fewer games where I thought, he'll need to work on that than I thought. Then you're right about him in the box as a goal scorer. I mean, that's not just, I'm taller than everybody, I'm bigger than everybody, I can jump higher than everybody, which he can, but he's also precise, he's skilled with his head. This is no fluke. These are not accidents. Like, there have been plenty tall guys that could get up to a ball. They can't score on a regular because they're just not very good at heading, which is a skill. Like, it's obvious to me this is something he's worked on. And if not, he's just super naturally gifted in the air. So pretty impressive. I say let's bring him. Let's give him some time. It's not like we got a prolific bunch of center backs. So I say bring him to the next camp. Why not?
Now, I know this might be a little bit, people might disagree with me or, wonder why I'm asking this, but I'm going to ask anyway, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even though this guy hasn't committed to playing for us. Who do you think has a higher ceiling between Neil Pierre and Noah Kai Banks?
That's really hard to say. But I think right now, if you were to ask me, I'd say right now I feel pretty even to me.
Yeah.
I don't really see anybody having an advantage here. A month ago, I would have never thought that. I thought, Banks was, the only other prospect we had of any ceiling whatsoever. And now I've been watching Pierre for game after game. I'm thinking, this kid's got potential, like really high potential. And he's got all the physical attributes. I think he's actually his IQ, soccer IQ, is just as good as Banks. So
and he's younger too by 2 years.
Well, he's being asked to cover a whole lot more space too. For Philadelphia, you think about Banks, he plays right center back. His responsibilities are a little bit more compact because there's 3 of them back there when he plays. He hasn't really been asked to play center back, i.e. just 2 of them, right? Where Pierre has been. So that's a lot more spatial responsibility for a center back. And he's done just fine. You can get exposed much more quickly in a back 4 than a back 3, because you got a back 3, it's really a back 5, right? So, your ass end is covered by a left wing back or a right wing back, but Pierre does not have that luxury really. And he's been pretty mistake free for the most part. I'm not completely, but he's had some really good games. I'm pretty impressed. I have to admit it. Believe me, I'm not going to say I'm impressed if I'm not. I know anybody that's known me for a long time, I'm like, hey, whoa, calm down. That's my usual thing. Chill out. Don't whip out the lube so early, okay? Don't get overexcited, overstimulated. Give the kids some time. But I'm impressed, and so I'm going to say it. I am.
And it came out of nowhere, too, which I think is crazy. He got called back on loan early from the team in Denmark.
Lyngby,
yes. And he has been amazing ever since. And we'll talk about what I want to see going forward, too, with the national team. But this guy 100% has to be called up in this next camp. Has to. Have to do it. Okay, final guy. And now, listen, we'll be here all night if we talk about every single one. I just picked a couple who are standouts this year, right? That I've noticed. Now, this guy is probably has the most production, but it has the lowest ceiling of all the 4 guys we talked about. And that's not an indictment of him to say he's bad. I don't think he has that type of potential because he's more of a poacher. And that's Julian Hall. Now, Julian Hall is 18 years old. He turned 18 this year. He scored 9 goals, has 5 assists for the Red Bulls in 21 games. His production has lowered or halted significantly, I would say, because he's been playing on the left wing instead of up top more recently. So he's not scoring goals like he was. But it is nice to see that an 18-year-old at one point before the positional switch was in the Golden Boot race at 17, 18 years old. That's not something I've ever seen before in Major League Soccer. So the fact that that's happened and he has played well is impressive this year.
Yeah. Again, is he ready for Europe? That's a hard question, but there's been a whole lot of talk about him going already. I'd like to see him stay another year. I don't know. I'd like him to get back to the center forward spot. Frankly, that's where he's been the best poaching. He is on a little bit of a cold streak right now.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen with these young players. My only questions about Julian Zakarzuski is that I need to see him be able to create his own goals, which he almost did the other night on an occasion. but I do need him to pick up a ball outside the box, make a couple moves, and blast one in a corner. That I have not seen, and that's what I need to see, because really, in the end, you're not always going to be able to poach. Sometimes you're going to have to create your own goal. And so we'll see if that happens. This one I'm not quite as excited about as the other ones we talked about, but I have some hopes for him, and I hope that he continues to improve.
Was it you that told me the other night you thought his ceiling was Ricardo Pepi? Like his absolute ceiling was what we've seen?
Oh, no, wasn't me. No.
Yeah, I don't remember who said that. Maybe that was Pete that told me that the other night when we were talking on stream, or maybe it was I forgot who had told me that. But one of the two had said that they think his ceiling is the best version of Pepi. That's his ceiling right now. Which I think that makes a little bit of sense to me. Like, I don't think he's gonna be much better than Pepi or anything like that. I mean, if everything pans out,
right.
But I do. That's a good question of like, what's his level? Where could he go? I do think of all the three guys we just talked about, or four guys, he's the one I do think that probably needs to stay in MLS one more year just to prove himself. Now, could he play in the Eredivisie? Could he play
for sure
in the Portuguese league? Yeah, I think he probably could. I just don't think he's ready for a top 5 league. I don't think that's his level yet.
Don't go to Portugal anyhow. That's where players go to die. I think Eredivisie is a good spot for him. That's where I would go, or a lower club in the Bundesliga, like, somewhere in the mid-table. Don't go to Portugal.
Well, to be fair, that's what happened to Pepi, and that kind of screwed him. I think he probably needs to go to. I think he honestly probably needs to go to the Eredivisie. I think that's probably where to get his confidence up, play European ball, a little bit different environment. Hell, maybe even play. I don't know. Maybe he. You know what you said earlier about Mehmeti? Maybe Julian Hall would be a perfect guy to play in Salzburg. Maybe that would be a good move for him to get that confidence in Champions League. That could be a good match made in heaven.
I mean, don't go to Scotland. The Austrian teams have been smoking the Scottish teams in the Champions League qualifiers. Yeah, like go somewhere like that. That's fine. Austria, top 2 teams in Austria, top 3. Bundesliga lower table, maybe not. I mean, heck, Cole Campbell started for Elversberg this weekend, played a full 90, so maybe it's not as hard as you think. Maybe
I just have flashbacks about Pepi when he went to Augsburg, and
Augsburg are idiots. They're idiots.
Yeah.
So just look at them. So look at where they are now. So I'm just saying there's some teams that are just I can't say Augsburg's an idiot. I think the manager at the time was a chicken shit, but that's a whole nother story, right?
Yeah. Okay, so these are the top prospects I think in MLS are the ones I'm most excited about or find most interesting. There's plenty more. We'd be here all night if we talk about this. But the final question I have for you is, okay, it's actually 2 questions. I'll ask you this. What do you think has changed on why we're seeing these guys play so well right now versus years past?
I think it's crazy that people seem to think something immediate just happened. It didn't. This has been going on for a while. For other teams, it's been going on for longer. We know Philly has been developing, quality players for some time. So we're not shocked when he comes out of Philly. And for a lot of people, I think the only thing that was shocking with New York Red Bulls is that so many of them came out at the same time. You can give some credit to Michael Bradley for being the 2 coach last year, and now the head coach saying, well, I'm bringing all these young guys up with me. And I trust them. And so give Michael some credit for that, but also give the Red Bull youth system credit. It's not like they haven't developed players in the past. They have. Obviously, Adams being one of the big examples. I think the thing is, this is just the beginning. If we really talk about this, you got New York Red Bulls, San Diego, Seattle, San Jose, the Revs, RSL, Rapids, all playing at least 2 players, starting 2 youth under 23s per game. All right. Philly, their numbers are going back up again now since they're starting a lot more. I think they're at exactly 2 U23 players a game, and we know who those guys are. Now, if the rest of the league were doing that too, these numbers would continue to jump. Right now, we only have really a handful of teams making all of this talent. So what we need to do is continue to see the other teams get on board, especially the ones that are horrible at it. Like Houston's a disgrace. They are a disgrace to the league. Minnesota, disgrace. When are they ever going to start focusing on actually developing and playing young players? We got other disgraces. Charlotte's a disgrace. NYCFC's a disgrace. LAFC with that huge market, they don't play any young players at all. That's a disgrace. All right. Portland. Okay. Austin. Okay. I get it. Austin they're frankly still a new team in the league, but come on. There are kids playing soccer all around Austin. Soccer is, you can't tell me you can't find any kids there that you can develop. Okay, I'll give them some more time since they're a new team. But the other teams have been around this league that I mentioned for a long time. Shame on you. But I do think there are players out there, obviously, because Philadelphia, New York, and all the other teams I mentioned are proving it. So let's hope that continues. It's been an evolution, though. Keep in mind, it's taken 10 years to kind of develop the perfect systems, like the perfect coaches, not perfect, the adequate systems, the adequate coaches necessary to develop these young players to where we have now. I don't think it's an accident, and I'm not giving any credit to MLS Next, bro. Sorry, not doing it. All right, not the league. The development, the coaches, that's who I'm giving the credit for. I don't think boys playing against boys is what made these players great. Okay, these players are just really good. They're finally getting a shot. Most of them are almost still boys, right? They're barely 18, some of them. So, yeah, that's just, and let me not miniaturize the cojones it takes to take a chance on a young player. Even if you believe in them, you're kind of like, really going to put a 17-year-old in the midfield? Am I going to do that? Oh, I'm Michael Bradley. Yes, I am going to do that. Okay, good for you, Michael. So that takes guts. So it's a mixture and it's a blend of things, and it isn't something that's immediate. This has been in the development, in the waters for certain academies for some time.
Okay. I want to ask this bonus question, and then I want to ask about the USMNT. Is there a single player in Major League Soccer right now that's playing that we talked about that's a better prospect than Matisse Albert? And I hope you like that pronunciation, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, to be discovered, I guess. Is it possible that Gozo turns out to be a better player? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. Is it possible that, Matisse Albert isn't or regresses or never jumps another level higher than where he is now? It's possible. All kinds of weird stuff has happened in the past. So, I mean, they're all different players, obviously playing different positions. I mean, Gozo and Albert are closer in the way the positions they play. So I guess they're more comparable. Of course, Gozo just played for the U21 Crystal Palace team, scored a goal his first game. He can't linger down there too long or he'll never get out. So hopefully that's just like a 2-week ease him in sort of thing. But yeah, it's possible. It's possible that there is a player coming out of MLS that's going to be better than Matisse Albert. Absolutely.
What about Cavan?
Could be Cavan. Could be. Yeah. I mean, listen, I guess the sky's the limit right now for some of these guys. At least it seems that way, the way they're playing, because they're so young, and 16 is, I mean, he's not going to be able to drink beer for another 5 years. And Cavan Sullivan's doing some grown-up stuff out there. So, yeah.
Okay, so final question. The USMNT camp starts in September. I think we need to move in a direction where these are the pillars. And these are the guys we start to get ready for 2030. Like, this is what we need to invest our time in. These are the guys who I think can lead us to uncharted waters. Are we going to see an influx of these guys, or do you think he's going to be kind of conservative and only maybe call up a handful?
I think it's just going to be a handful. I think you'll see, the best ones of the best. Probably Cavan will be there. Maybe Mehmeti, Gozo. We'll have to see if he calls up Albert. Maybe Albert.
Well, Pierre.
Yeah, I want him to call Pierre because that's a position of desperation for us.
Yeah.
So there are other positions where desperation is not the word I'd use. I don't know if they'll become pillars. That's a really tough spot to get to, especially this young.
They could be, though. I mean, 4 years is a long time.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, do I see some of these kids stealing Adams' spot in the next World Cup? Maybe. Gonna have to do a crap load of good stuff to make that happen. McKennie taking McKennie's spot. Maybe. I do see maybe a young player taking the goalkeeper spot. I do see a player taking a center back spot because those are positions of dread, of need. I don't see anybody taking, Balogun's spot. I mean, I could go down the list, and I still think, Cardoso's not going to give up a center midfield spot with ease. You're going to have to take that away from him because he's going to want to play in a World Cup next time if he can stay healthy. So and the same thing goes for Robinson or Jedi out left and Dest out right, or even Way out right, right? Because Way is competing with Dest now for that spot based on where he plays at Marseille. So it's not going to be easy, but boy, I sure would hope some of these young kids do put pressure on them. I think competition is really important. And if a couple of them in the next 4 years surpass what we got now, even better, I'll take it. But to know that we'll actually have depth next World Cup would also be a relief, because after the top 12, 13 players, I'm not real confident in our squad depth. So this would be a nice thing to have. Champagne problems if a bunch of these guys actually blossom, right?
So the final thing I'll say is anything can happen, but if these guys are ascending now at the beginning of this new cycle, that is a good precursor for what could be in 4 years. Because as you know and I know, 4 years is an eternity in soccer, especially for development. So some of these guys could look completely different in 4 years, for good or bad.
Yes.
It could be either way. But there's a chance. I mean, I expect at least one or two of these guys to probably be a starter by 2030. I don't know who it's going to be. That's open. That's up for debate. But would it really shock you if Mehmeti is the starter for the World Cup for the team in 2030? It wouldn't shock me.
He'd be 21. You would then, assume he's playing for a top European squad and he's a regular starter, right?
Which he should be, right? I mean, he's 21. He should be by that point. That's 4 years from now.
Could be. I mean, listen, 21's still pretty young.
No, it is.
So, I'm just saying he could ascend and he could be, Adams' backup, or maybe he beats out Adams. So, I mean, we'll see. But they're slightly different players too. Or maybe he beats out Cardoso. Maybe Cardoso's time at Atletico Madrid doesn't go so well. It started off the season not going so well, sitting and riding pine for 90 minutes, right? That can't continue because Cardoso's not making this team if he's a pine rider. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. And as I said, if these guys can apply pressure as well, that makes the whole team better. So even if that's what they do next World Cup, that's a step up. And then Mehmeti's 25, 2 World Cups from now. That's when he's going to be prime, top of his game, if this ascension, as we're calling it, continues. Again, I always say be cautious because I've seen a lot of ascension turn into descension. So we need to be careful, whether it be injuries or mental problems or not putting in the full 100%. We know who those guys are, right? And there's hundreds of them I could list for you. So I'm not going to get into them. But yeah, at least there's more of them than there used to be. So there's that. So there's the more of them that there are, the better chance that some of them are going to turn into something, right?
I agree. Well, listen, either way, great time for MLS. Young players are ascending. It's fun to watch.
It's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah.
And it's got a lot of people probably tuning in that don't normally watch as many games of Major League Soccer more regularly. Derek, I appreciate you for coming on, my friend. Guys, make sure you go check him out at the Straight Red Card, him and Brett. I'm going to try to send them a collab invite so you guys can check out their channel. Also, don't forget MLS Moves is presented by FanDuel. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you give us a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.